What's good, boys? Today's video: why MGTOW wins. Covert warfare. MGTOW is evolution. MGTOW exists as an adaptation to an anti-male world. But one of the best things that I see about MGTOW is the rationality of the proposition it brings forward. In men going their own way, they take back their masculinity and begin to define it on their own terms. They are no longer looking to woman XYZ. They are no longer looking to job XYZ, and they are no longer looking to possession XYZ. They are instead looking within. Thus they are reclaiming the power that they always had, but one that appeared to have been taken away from them. The problem is that the best strategy that society used as a whole has been exposed. Shaming. And what happens when something is exposed? It becomes transparent. People begin to see it for what it is. And the more men talk, congregate, and communicate with one another, the more similarities they begin to see within the matrix. For example, take a group of men, one from France, one from England, one from Thailand, one from America, one from Chile, and they all begin to talk online. They say, wait, they tell you as well that you need a girlfriend? Oh, wait, they say that you too need to get married? Oh, and then they also tell you that you need to have this career? But then comes the important question: why? Well, if you ask this to the people that are telling you what you need, you have already lost because you have given into their frame. Who the fuck cares about the why? If someone proposes that you inject crocodile into your pecker, you're not going to ask them why, because you already know it's a stupid idea. So instead of asking them why, these men begin to ask each other why, and they come up with the correct answer. There is no good why. These are ideas and notions that are perpetuated in order to keep the system churning and moving along smoothly. But why serve the system? If you're serving something greater than you, would you not want it to care? I should say, quote, care for you, or at least value you? Are men really valued in the world? So then, is the proposition to keep the system churning along one of mutual benefit, or is it a zero-sum game? And that's fine, that men aren't necessarily valued. That's just how biology has hardwired the world. Obviously, a vagina has inherently more worth than a penis. So it makes sense from a purely biological perspective to have white knights, to have pussy sycophants, and to have men who are willing to throw themselves away to save a damsel in distress. If we didn't have those characteristics, MGTOW may have come about a lot earlier, and who knows whether the species would have survived at that point. And really, that's all evolution and nature cares about. However, we have now reached a point where it's no longer about gene replication. So a lot of the old strategies that have gotten us this far are being rendered useless. Why should I care about serving something that doesn't serve me? Why should I do what other people tell me, especially when those people would be willing to throw me away at the first chance they stand to profit in doing so? Why should I follow orders from somebody that I don't even think is happy? I don't think that these people that are propagating a lot of these ideas are happy with themselves, so why do I need to follow them? MGTOW is just a rational proposition that seeks to understand the world, our nature, and how our systems are set up. Except instead of doing what other people do when they find out the truth and take up arms against the system, MGTOW just says, "Aight, cool. So that's why things are the way they are. Well, then I'ma just do me, and they can do them, but I'm gonna keep my distance and my resource to myself." A MGTOW man actually has way more time, more resources and emotional energy to attain things that actually objectively enhance his life. He has more time to expand his mind. He has more time to improve his body. He has more time to network. He has more time to meditate. These being things that retain their value and ask for very little in return. In essence, MGTOW is the search for low investment, high return activities. And these things are not found in women, careers, or consumerism. So really, from a very, very basic perspective, the question comes down to somebody criticizing MGTOW is, are you not for a favorable strategy? So then how can you possibly criticize MGTOW? The funny thing is that because the MGTOW man ends up with more time to work on himself and create real value within, he then actually has a higher chance of succeeding with these very things that interest him. So he is much more average to be successful than an average man who just pursues what others tell him to pursue. Except, unlike that drone who doesn't think for himself, the biggest thing is that the MGTOWs have the choice. They have the choice between following the status quo or going their own way. That is where the real beauty of MGTOW lies. It enhances people's free will. And I've seen some criticism that always stems from people who don't really understand MGTOW as a whole or what it's really about. For example, one of the more common ones that I see is, oh, you guys are just like bitter feminists, wah wah, whining about women. Nobody cares. There's a difference between whining, bitterness, which is more of a systematic behavior, where the identity becomes meshed with that which what you're talking about, and righteous indignation that says, this is bullshit, this is why this is bullshit, and this is why you should avoid it. The biggest difference between MGTOW and feminism is that MGTOW is not trying to legislate or coerce anyone to take any action. It merely encourages people to pursue things to their own accord, to their own trumpet, and to their own volition. Whereas feminism endeavors to pass laws, thus coercing people into following their ideals, and this isn't even through reason, fact, or truth. Pretty much everything they cite can be easily debunked by even a bit of research. Things like, why don't they consider that men are half of the victims of domestic violence? What about that men are more likely to be homeless, have a higher suicide rate, or be killed? What about the fact that men are more likely to pay child support, alimony, or end up in jail for not doing so? What about the fact that women cheat as much, if not more? In some places, they get paid more, and affirmative action is really all about forcing, as in using coercion through the use of big daddy government, in having companies and universities have quotas for women, where if these companies and universities don't follow these so-called laws, they could be penalized for it. Where is the MGTOW equivalent of this? There is no coercion or things that come of MGTOW that steal that something that should have been a woman's. For example, the job that should have went to the most skilled worker, but instead automatically is going to a woman, because if men and women were equal, why would you even need to have a quota? Shouldn't you be able to attain that position through your natural ability to be equal, and thus, with a bit of work, your ability to supersede men? That is the feminist imperative, and really a deeper channeling of gynocentrism. But where is the MGTOW equivalent of this? I'm waiting. Oh, that's right, it does not exist. What is the call to action that feminism takes? Do these women ever talk about their hobbies or things that women can do to enhance their reality? As a matter of fact, The fact that they propagate this everyone is beautiful nonsense, this body positive stuff, this actually inhibits women because men are not fooled by this. Nature is not fooled by this. So we find the things we find attractive for a biological purpose. So they're actually disserving the women that they're supposedly fighting for. How can you possibly liberate a human being if its state stays the same, or it actually becomes worse because of the philosophy you put forward? This is the biggest difference. Because when you look at the most popular MGTOWs, they all have hobbies, passions, pursuits, and in ways, these are things that they would encourage their subscribers, the people that follow them, to check out. For example, Stardust has his language study, his neurological study, and his exercise. Barbarossa has his running, coupled with his interest in chemistry and running his blog. Sandman has his photography, editing, and writing. This is outside of their study of psychology, philosophy, and evopsychology, which is evident in their videos. Thus, we can see what the major difference is. MGTOW encourages men to pursue their free will and puts into proper perspective what women are, their place, and what value you should place on these relationships. The axiom really being that women, they may come along for the ride, but never, ever, ever deviate your own course for them, because they will never be the ride. They are not the ride. MGTOW is seeking to have more men who are liberated from the system, because society, women, and our immediate families will not put into perspective the actual cost to benefit ratio in engaging with women, and especially in getting married and having kids with them. This is why this is an important aspect of MGTOW. It is so that the first notions that people have about the way things need to be can be broken down through logic, rationality, studies, and experiences of others. Then and only then are they totally, totally free, because you have to have a proper understanding and context of relationships, women, and signing contracts, having kids, and sharing your wealth with them before you are truly able to understand it all. This wouldn't work if Sandman just said, "Oh, just be a photographer. It's a good hobby." Or if Stardust just said, "Oh, study language. It's challenging, but it can be worthwhile." Or if Barbarossa said, "Oh, just learn about chemistry. It's neato." Because even if the men followed their instructions, there are so many ways that they can get fucked over, sidetracked, lost in society, or just trapped, that they may not get past learning the word hello, or taking one picture, or learning one element. What needs to be valued above everything else is truth. What does it matter if someone is mad saying it? What does it matter if they're happy saying it? Does the truth shift to tonality and emotion? Is something true based on the way it is said? What is this point about bitterness and unhappiness? This is a moot point, because somebody could be the most unhappiest person in the world, but if they said 1 + 1 is 2, would you be like, "Well, no, you're wrong because you're unhappy"? At the same time, somebody could be the happiest person in the world, the nicest person, and they could have tons and tons of knowledge, but if they say 1 + 1 is 3, then is that the truth? The criticism always comes outside of someone who is a MGTOWer. If people actually read, spoke, or asked how the MGTOWers actually live their lives instead of projecting themselves by calling names, making assumptions, shaming them, or just being outright obtuse to new ideas, they'd find out that pretty much all of the men are immensely happy. And if you have a rational philosophy, one that encourages free thought, one that uses studies, one that focuses on objectivity, and one where the people that follow or identify with it are very happy, why would you not look at it? The reason, the root, fear, ignorance, or bias, and it's just that simple. People are afraid of the implications that MGTOW has in showing us that men and women are actually insanely different. Their natures collide, and if it wasn't for one side making massive concessions, there would have been no cooperation to begin with. Ignorance. People that are either willfully ignoring evidence of what is being said, using subjective conjecture that nobody can possibly confirm, or they have negative knowledge and they believe something that is flat out a lie. Or to finally to come to the last part, bias, in that it's obviously way easier to disregard what MGTOW says than to actually look at a paradigm shifting evidence. The Semmelweis reflex, because rewiring neurons, realizing you were wrong, and looking at past mistakes isn't the most fun thing in the world, especially when it's something that is so embedded in our gynocentric society. This is why MGTOW wins, because it doesn't hinge on those people. What MGTOW allows men to do is to transcend the opinions of others and pursue happiness how they want it. So hey, it comes down to hate is gonna hate, but MGTOW's gonna MGTOW. As Sun Tzu said, it is best to win without fighting. This is MGTOW in a nutshell. Why fight to change the female nature? Why try to legislate laws to coerce women in the way that men have been coerced, ruined, and bullied by the gynocentric laws that feminism has passed? MGTOW is really prophylaxis, or the prevention of future problems, which is why it's so important for men to be aware, to see these videos and to look at the cold, harsh truth. Their very potential, yes, their very fucking potential hinges on it. Because MGTOW isn't about whining and saying, oh, women are naturally evil. We as men, we're such victims. Pity party. Come on, guys. Everybody on board. Okay, let's all feel bad together. It's about saying, look at everything in the world. Look at it for what it is. And in spite of all of this, you have an amazing opportunity. Here is how you can take advantage of it. And here is how to avoid the problems that many men face and that many men are left to deal with because of a lack of knowledge. How much money, time, effort, and emotional investment has been lost by men who could have taken the same resources, channeled it into the self or into something higher, and have been more fulfilled for it? And those very things, how much of that has been lost on women? How much of it needs to be lost before men wake up to their reality? The irony is that by channeling it into something other than women, they actually end up with more women due to their higher success in life, and thus the acquisition of status and money for it. It's not so much that women are inherently evil creatures hell-bent on destroying men. It's that unless men and women understand their nature, specifically men understanding female nature, they can end up in terrible, terrible positions, as we've seen in the West, with all of the issues the two sexes have had in the last 50 years. But which sex is the one that pays for it? Which sex is the liability and which sex is the asset? Are women facing alimony in high amounts? Do women ever serve time, any jail time for missing alimony or for not paying child support? What about false rape accusations? Are females against male domestic violence as feminism, which likes to champion itself about human equality? Are even domestic violence cases taken as seriously when a man makes it against a woman as opposed to the other way around? And what if a woman's accusations are found to be false? What about all the men that have been entrapped into having kids? And what about the men that have to pay child support on children that aren't even theirs? MGTOW can literally save lives, as Straight Shooter so poignantly pointed out. If men see the gynocentric nature of society, how women can behave if it benefits them, and the sort of consequences they face, their whole way of thinking can undergo an epic transformation. What if the war machine understood the topics found in videos from Barbarossa, Sandman, Spetsnaz, and Stardust videos? Would he have had the same fate? What about all the married men who have gotten completely fucked over by the family courts? Would their fate have been the same? That is the potential. That is the chance we have. And that is the opportunity, should we take it. If only we become aware. People that criticize MGTOW, you have to wonder, how many men's lives are they saving? What good are they doing for men around the world? I mean, hell, I've only been on YouTube for 3 months with this channel, and I've already gotten men from Greece, France, Asia, America, telling me how much my videos have helped them understand things differently, and how they are so much happier for having this knowledge. That is the most worthwhile aspect of MGTOW to me. Literally helping others to see their own capacity, their own potential, and their own ability to transcend the paradigm and leave the plantation. MGTOW is the unleashing of male potential through first losing the inhibition that so many men have in tying their masculinity to a woman, to a family, to what others think, and to their kids. You are a man. You define your masculinity. The world can be so fucking awesome as a man, but the world can also be fucking terrible as a man. But unless you are armed with the correct knowledge, your reality will not be one of your highest potential. Because regardless of the understanding you have of knowledge, if that knowledge is false, it matters not, because your reality will be false too. You will be attempting to build a CN tower on quicksand. The knowledge is the foundation. MGTOWs have no need to be bitter. They've already won. They have the proper context of women. They understand their nature, their hypergamy, solipsism, how they love, their love style essentially being conditional, and their loyalty. They understand the dangers of engaging with them: alimony, divorce, rape, jail time, possibly dealing with being cuckolded. And they know their own nature, their sex drive, their disposability, and their tendency to white knight if unchecked. And they understand how society views them: cogs in the wheel, cannon fodder, and to be thrown out if they are broken. They are so far past these things. Now, they can spend their time studying philosophy, finance, biology, psychology. Now, they can spend their time lifting weights, running, tracking their macros, meditating. And now they can spend their time playing video games, leaving the country on a whim, or just doing whatever it is that they please. They have no ties to any particular philosophy. They have lost everything, and some of them without ever losing a thing. Their reality, their mood, and their life does not hinge on others. Their thoughts, whether or not they have person XYZ in their life, or any shaming that anybody may enact upon them. They just don't give a fuck. MGTOWs are self-actualized. They're self-fulfilled, and they are FREE. Free, baby, on the daily. So, my brothers, do what makes you happy. Pursue your own dreams. Let the world be your oyster. Come as you wish, stay as you please, and do it all with steez. Peace out, boys.